next week. Now, Brad said it's going to be an interesting exposition. It's an introduction. And I've called this, and I'm looking at it from a perspective of, hello, my name is God. And I wonder, really, do we really know who God is? Or do we know just about God, facts about God? And this is a challenge to Christians as well as non-believers, because I think we fall in the same category. If I was to ask you this morning, and it came about, this thought, is when we introduce ourselves, how do we introduce ourselves to people? How do you introduce yourself to somebody you've never met before? Do you stick out a hand and say, hello, my name is? Yeah. And that's our introduction. Is that all there is after that? Or is it just a bit of small talk? My name is such and such, and I'm a engineer, I'm a cook, I'm this. That's usually what follows on. We identify what we do. But here, the challenge is many people don't know who God really is. And there are so many that say, well, you know what? God doesn't exist. He never has. It's all part of your imagination. That's where it stays. It's all part, it's up here. There's... Thank you. Do you want me to give you a benediction now? That would be easy. But that doesn't really say or tell me much about who God is. And I'd like to introduce him in a series. If I was teaching seminary, it would be Theology 101, but I'm not teaching seminary, but I'm introducing the person of God, because I think we've forgotten who he is. Others just believe that he's a cosmic force. In other words, somebody who just did something and has left it to run its own course. There are others that believe God is just like Santa Claus. When you're good, he gives you good things, and when you're bad, he gives you nothing. Then there are others that think God's just a cosmic killjoy. He doesn't want people to have any fun at all. But who is God, and what is he really like? And it's interesting. Many probably have heard of Sigmund Freud. No? Well, he was a famous person, but he got it wrong. He said that God was created by man for man. That man created God, because God doesn't really exist.
God is a alive thing. It is a big being. It's got more cosmic power than me and you put together.
You said that before, Karen. But is he right? Is God just something we made up? I mean, what is your ideal concept? What's a perfect God like? If you had to come up with one, what would he have to have, and what would he have to be like? He'd have to be good for me, wouldn't he? He'd have to do what I tell him to do. Everything would have to be in my favour. Isn't that more or less what we're looking for? A God who bestows wonderful things on us and overlooks our shortcomings? Isn't that grace? Is that what the real God is like? Yet, when I read the Bible, Sigmund Freud said that man, God is something I've created. Yet what does the Bible say? It says God created man, not the other way around. And it says even in Romans, in Romans 1:18 through 25, it says God's anger is shown from heaven against all the evil and wrong things people do. By their own evil lives, they hide the truth. God shows his anger because some knowledge of him has been made clear to them. Yes, God has shown himself to them. There are things about him that people cannot see. His eternal power, all the things that make him God. But since the beginning of the world, those things have been easy to understand by what God has made. So people have no excuse for the bad things they do. They knew God, but they did not give glory to God or thank him. Their thinking became useless. Their foolish minds were filled with darkness. They said they were wise, but they became fools. They traded the glory of God who lives forever for the worship of idols, made to look like earthly people, birds, animals, and snakes. Because they did these things, God left them and let them go their sinful way, wanting only to do evil. As a result, they became full of sexual sin, using their bodies wrongly with each other. They traded the truth of God for a lie. They worshipped and served what they created instead of God who created those things, who should be praised forever. Amen. This passage is just one that tells us, very simply, God exists, and men know that he does. They knew God, but they didn't want to know God. Man is not made God. He only wishes that God doesn't exist. Now, all of this is not new to Christians. It's something we've known. But my observation and challenge for the believer is, do I really know the God of the Bible? Or do I just know things about him? If I was to ask you, tell me what you know about God, what would you tell me? Karen's already told me some things. And she'll repeat the same thing again. But what things do you, if I ask you to tell me about your God, rattle them off for me. Here's life, love, omniscient, omnipotent. Okay, let somebody else have a go. Holy. Eternal. Faithful. Creator. We rattle them off. We got it down pat. But do I know him? There are things I know about him.
You have to have a personal relationship with him.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you the benediction now. These are things that we know about God. But if I truly know God and these things about God, what impact does it have on my daily life? Anything? And I've taken a passage. I'm not going to do a full exposition, but it suits my purpose today. And it's found in Isaiah 46. And it says this, Bel and Nebo bow down. Their idols are carried by animals. The statutes are only heavy loads that must be carried. They only make people tired. These gods will all bow down. They cannot save themselves, but will be carried away like prisoners. Family of Jacob, listen to me. All you people from Israel who are still alive, listen. I have carried you since you were born. I have taken care of you from your birth. Even when you are old, I will be the same. Even when your hair has turned grey, I will take care of you. I made you and will take care of you. I will carry you and save you. Can you compare me to anyone? No one is equal to me or like me. Now that's an important statement, and it's also a promise that you and I have from God about when we get old as well. God doesn't desert us simply because we get old. He's there to carry us. But he goes on. Some people are rich with gold and weigh their silver on the scales. They hire a goldsmith and he makes it into a god. They then bow down and worship it. They put it on their shoulders and carry it. They set it in its place, and there it stands. It cannot move from its place. People may yell at it, but it cannot answer. It cannot save them from their troubles. Remember this and do not forget it. Think about these things, you who turn against God. Remember what happened long ago. Remember that I am God and there is no other God. I am God and there is no one like me. From the beginning, I told you what would happen in the end. A long time ago, I told you things that have not yet happened. When I plan something, it happens. What I want to do, I will do. I'm calling a man from the east to carry out my plan. He will come like a hawk from a country far away. I will make what I have said come true. I will do what I have planned. Listen to me, you stubborn people, you who are far from what is right. I will soon do the things that are right. I will bring salvation soon. I will save Jerusalem and bring glory to Israel. Now keep that in mind.
Not at home because there's war there at the moment.
Thank you, Karen, but just wait till I finished. We have a problem today with what I call culture. Now, what is culture? You see, you might be from a different culture, from overseas. They have a different culture from Australians. You might be from America. And America does things different. They even sound different to Australians. They even eat things different from Australians. But then again, you can be jolly old England. And you do things differently. You think differently. You even have different weather to us. Although sometimes I think down south you've got exactly the same. But what it happens is everybody has a worldview. And that worldview is shaped and moulded from the day that we're born. And there are many influences that shape how we view ourselves and others in our world. That's an idea of a worldview. Values, principles, ethics, assumptions, beliefs, what we know, theory of life, and all of these things you can see around us influence us as how we view our world. And they are significant. Now, are Christians affected by worldview? Do they have their own worldview? Yes. Is it the right worldview? Can it be a mix of... You're saying if it ain't broke, don't touch it. If there's nothing wrong with your worldview, don't change it. We do have what we call a Christian worldview. But can that Christian worldview be contaminated by the worldview that we've grown up with? And that's the danger, because it can. And I'd like to say this morning that our worldview and a biblical worldview often are contaminated. We assimilate a lot of the thinking and philosophies of the world, and we Christianize them by how we view them, how we look at them. And there are many reasons why our modern culture rejects any concept of God, or they're determined to wipe out any possibility that he ever existed or even exists. Now, once upon a time, it sounds like a fairy tale, doesn't it? Once upon a time. But when I grew up, God was a central figure of a society's life. Now the idea of God being important, He's lost his relevance because many people are choosing not to believe in him. And some reasons for that: scientific advancements have led many people to turn away from God as their faith is divine intervention is rationalized. Years ago, many miraculous events were explained by God's work, but now people put them down to science. Fewer people are inclined to accept the belief in God because of higher education. And that higher education brings more skepticism, causing people to question if God is real. Now, it's not just higher education. I did master's degrees, and I can tell you, even in a theological sense, there is this eroding of truth in God's word. It puts more doubts. If you haven't got a strong faith and it's based on the person of God, then you begin to doubt because of the teachings that are brought in. Humanism, postmodern relativism has taught people to live their lives without relying on divine beings called God. So as a result, we have people who are determined to live their lives any way they want without being told how to live it. Sounds like today's world. Then we have the influence of the internet. It's instrumental in educating people with all sorts of resources. And might I say, not only resources, but a lot of rubbish as well.
Do you know I'm not allowed to have internet at night because it's too dangerous?
Well, maybe that's a good thing for you, Karen. All right? But people have got this information. And you know what? It's at the touch of a button. Just ask Dr. Google. I mean, most of you are on your phones now. And you can test and just put in, press a button and, hey, we'll check out and see whether the pastor's on point or not. I'll check him out with John MacArthur or one of these others and see if he's got the same thing. I'll even see whether he's pinched his notes. All at the touch of a button. All that information is there, causing people to doubt the existence of God because of conflicting opinions. Then we've got the scientific theories. And the biggest one is the Big Bang Theory, because it caused so many people to doubt in belief in God. They no longer see creation as an act of God, but something that's explained through natural science. People's personal experiences tend to shape their lives and contribute to having no interest in God or religion. Social network platforms do exactly the same. Then we have how many people have become disillusioned because of the many moral failures of Christian leaders who have made headlines in the media for the wrong reasons. Today, there's an increased emphasis on mental health and emotional openness, making people more likely to prioritize emotional fulfillment through personal relationships and achievements instead of through religious practices. I don't need the church. I don't need people in the church. I've got a support group outside. So we've got exposure to so many religious opinions on the internet, through social media. Well, maybe there's more than one God, and people begin to question it. And so another last thing is many people have stopped believing in God because of personal hardships that lead to questioning the benevolence of an existence of God. In other words, people can't get over, I prayed to God for something to happen and he didn't answer my prayer, so what's the point in talking to him when he doesn't give me what I want? When he takes away my loved one, when he does this, when he does that, why should I trust him? So that all of these factors are in there. And then we have the Christian worldview. What do I really believe? What are my priorities? What are the choices I make? Are my biblical worldview, my values and my behaviours aligned? What impact am I having on the culture around me? And I can say this with all seriousness, my culture is making more of an impact on me than I'm making on my culture. Because so often, consciously and subconsciously, I'm assimilating the culture of the world in which I live more than I care to acknowledge. I really do. But it asks the question, will I remain faithful to the one and only true living God? Will I trust him alone for my security, for my salvation? Or will I be enticed to look at other gods who offer much more but deliver nothing? I wonder, do we ever struggle with whether my understanding and your understanding of God is the correct one? Do I struggle with the God of the Bible in trying to understand him? Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe we've been thinking about it the wrong way. There are lots of voices in our world today that call us to question and challenge our view of God, our view of Christianity. There are lots of people offering an alternate view, an alternate way of coming to God. And there are probably even more who think it doesn't matter. Any God will do as long as you're sincere in what you believe. The reality is today that as Christians we're in a minority. As people who believe that the God of the Bible is the only true and living God. And because we believe that, and we're surrounded by people who don't hold to that view, it's easy enough to be swayed by the majority view. Because when you listen to their arguments, they sound reasonable, they sound logical, they sound believable even. And as Christians, we're not immune from such thinking. And I believe that's where our problem lies. Hence my topic, hello, my name is God. Do we know who he is and what difference he makes in our lives by the reality that he does make? There's the process of what I call connecting with God. And I wonder this morning, do you feel, no, let me take that back. Are you connected with God? Are you? Tell me how you know you're connected with God this morning. Is it a feeling, that sense that overwhelms you, that warms you from the cockles of your heart, that, yes, I'm in the presence of God today? Is that what you're feeling? You see, this is what people strive for. You can whip up a worship service to get a feeling or a sense. But if you're not prepared and your heart's not right, all the whipping up is going to amount to nothing because you're not where you should be. We come prepared to worship. We don't need to be revved up. We just need to be prepared to worship the one who we've come to worship, if we really know him. But connecting. What's the difference between knowing somebody and knowing about them? Let's just say, for example, I know Albanese.
He's the government of Australia.
Do I know him or do I know things about him?
We hear it on the news 24 hours.
If that's all you've got to go by, you're in trouble.
No, we hear it on the news. That's the news.
And the news is always right? The news is always truthful? You can always rely on it? No. You see, we get fed information, but it doesn't mean I know him. When it comes to God, is it just that I can sprout all the facts and tell you this, that, and everything else? Or do I really know him? There's a difference. Knowing God and just knowing about God. And that applies to Christians. Because I can know about somebody, but it doesn't mean it's true. I might just have the basics because I've had an introduction. But it doesn't mean I intimately know the person. Someone says, "Oh, have you heard, you know such?" Yeah, I know him. No, I know about him. But I've never had to deal with him in a close relationship. And to know somebody takes time. It takes effort. It's a process. It really does. And I've got a whole heap of stuff here, but I'm just going to cut it down to two things. It's interesting. My coffee machine went on the blink. It died. Natural death. And I thought, I'll just go out and get one. And I thought, well, I don't want one of these pod ones. I had that for years, and I like a good coffee. So I went down, and I shouldn't have listened to this salesperson. He said, "What do you want?" Big mistake. I said, "I want something that does it for me without me thinking." Big mistake. And the spiel was fantastic. And guess what? I bought it. And it does everything once you learn how to use it. It makes and does everything. And I was telling some of my family members last night, if you want a good cup of coffee, come round and, you just press the button and it does it. And they said, no, good coffee. You've got to know your coffee beans. And I thought, how dumb is that? You just go to the supermarket, pick it up and put it in the machine and it does it. No, you don't know. It all has to do with the heat of the water and the air in the machine and whether you wash it out and how long you put it in. And I thought, really? But it showed me the difference about somebody who just drinks a coffee and somebody who really knows coffee and what they want. And I thought, okay, I've got a long way to go and this dumb machine will probably get the best of me yet. And I thought, no, let's make it a little bit more interesting. Let's deal with the marriage relationship. And I know we've got couples here that have been married for a long time. But let me put it this way. When you first got an interest in somebody, what did you do? Did you do some homework? Did you go up and introduce yourself? Did you think right from the word go, she's the one for me? I mean, you haven't even talked to her yet. You haven't said boo. And yet, is that what you say you're going to do? What did you do? You went up and introduced yourself, didn't you? You went about trying to find out as much information as you can about this girl or this man. And it was interesting. We had a family get-together. And we were there at Cullen Bay. My wife turned to me and she said, "You're responsible for all of this." I said, "I beg your pardon?" She said, "If it wasn't for you, you chased me. I didn't chase you." And I said, "Do you have any regrets?" She said, "None." But, you see, there's that infatuation. You want to spend time with the person. You want to get to know them. You start thinking about them. You might even dream about them, but you want to be with them. The infatuation stage. Then there's the next stage. You want to take it further. There's the commitment. It goes beyond just knowing about. You want to really know that person. You've made a decision. I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. And so you get married. And you say, I take you for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do us part. Good vow. But what happens when the worst comes? Oh, I didn't think about that one. Did I get the wrong end of the stick? Too late. You made a commitment. Over the years, in a marriage relationship, those who stick with it, it takes work. It takes effort to maintain. It's not as though someone waves a magic wand over and you're in that little bubble and nothing touches you. If you are, let me know, because I'll burst that bubble very quickly. But you see, it takes working on that relationship to maintain that commitment. And it goes beyond knowing someone. It means really knowing somebody in the worst. Couples who've been married for a long time know many things about each other. Have I got a couple that are willing to put it to the test? Silence was the stern reply. Nobody wants to be a guinea pig. You see, often we say, yeah, I know about that person. Let me ask you, without looking, what colour are your partner's eyes? Can you tell me straight away without looking?
Mine are brown.
Always has to be one. What is your partner's favourite book? What is her favourite movie? What is the favourite food? What is the favourite song? What makes them happy? Basic questions. You see, often in that relationship, if you don't work on it, you just take it for granted. You just go through the motions. You know, yeah, we got married. Yeah, she's my wife. Yeah, he's my husband. But, you know, I can't be bothered to put the work into to know much about them. You just do your own thing. And I've taken that illustration simply to say, well, when it comes to God, do we do exactly the same thing? Do we treat him exactly the same way? It's going through the motions. I know about him, but do I know him in all of life situations? Do I have a deep understanding of him, or have I grown apart? Have I become indifferent to the point that all I've got is a knowledge about God? I can rattle it off, but I don't have any gratitude. I don't have any appreciation, because at some point in time, I've stopped caring. I no longer have a personal relationship. It's just something that's casual when it suits me, or most of the time when I'm in trouble. Hey, big fella, you still up there? It's a casual relationship because I know he's there, but I don't want him running my life. How important is our relationship with God? Does it matter? Does it make a difference? And I think we need to reconnect with God and know him the same way he knows us by name. He knows how many every hair that's on our head. He knows all this about me and you. But do I really know him in the same way? That's why I say, hello, my name is God. I'm introducing myself to you today in a new way, hoping to reconnect with you so that you'll no longer ignore me. The personal challenge. Who is your God? This is where we go back to our text in Isaiah 46. Isaiah, the prophet, God is speaking through him. And he's dealing with similar problems that we have today. People wanting to replace God with something that's tangible, something that can be manipulated to do their bidding whenever they request it. And today, just like it was then, people are into designer gods. And I call them designer gods because you just design whatever sort of God you want. Gods of their own imagination that can be controlled, that can be coerced to do their bidding, reward them for good deeds and punish those who offend them. And here, in our text, is the case of the Israelites. They were taken captive into Babylon. And here, while they're in Babylon, they're introduced to two of the gods of Babylon, Bel and Nebo. And the Babylonians had built these statues so that when you encountered them in the, if you like, public square, you walk past them, guess what you were supposed to do? Bow and worship these mighty gods of Babylon, because they were the reason why Babylon was such a world power. And so these two gods, they were just two of many, but these were the two main ones. The Israelites, when they were brought into captivity, were expected to bow and worship these two gods. Now, the circumstances of that time, what was happening when they were taken away from their homeland, brought into a new world, a new culture, they had to assimilate into this culture. And this culture was anything but godly. And it caused many of them to doubt the God of Israel, particularly after circumstances had uprooted them and taken them to Babylon, and now they were confronted with the elaborate power and might of Bel and Nebo. So they're starting to cause, well, these two gods that I'm to worship must be greater than the God of the Bible, otherwise I wouldn't be in captivity. So they began to have doubts. And now they received some news that a new kid on the block was flexing his muscles and his power. A guy called Cyrus, king of Persia, who is about to attack Babylon. And it seemed to them that his gods were more powerful than these Babylonian gods, who they were now carrying on their person out to safety. In other words, they had statues of these two gods that they were carrying out to safety because these Babylonian gods were about to be attacked by Cyrus. Wow. Now here's the scene. And this is what Isaiah paints. Two greats of Babylon, and what are they doing? Nothing. These two great gods that they put so much reliance on were doing absolutely nothing. They had become a burden to the people who were carrying them. Remember the statues, they're carrying them on their backs. And yet these two statues pretended they could help the people. And yet when the people go into captivity, so do these gods. They go with them. So they're burdened down by these statues of wood and stone. So the first contrast here is that Isaiah makes is these gods require people to carry them. In other words, they become a burden that people must carry them. Yet in our text, God reminds them, since your birth and until your old age, what does he say? I will carry you, because I have made, I will bear, I will carry, I will save you, says God. Now that's in comparison to these statutes that they're carrying. God says, you're carrying these things you call gods, and yet I've carried you since you were born and will promise you I'll carry you till the end. There's the first contrast. When we read, who hath been born by me in verse 3, it could have been translated, who has been loaded onto me, or who has burdened me, in the original. Do you ever think of yourself as burdening God? Do you think it's possible? How could we possibly burden Almighty God? If we listen to what God says to these people in chapter 43, he says, you have burdened me with your sins. You have wearied me with your iniquities. So if you want to weary God, it's easy. Just keep ignoring him. Keep on doing what he tells you not to do. That's the easiest way to burden God. And that's a challenge right there. Because it challenges us. Do we listen to God? Do we make time for God? Or are we carrying the gods that we have manipulated and made in our image? And that's what we're carrying instead of looking to the God who carries us. And having carried these false gods, they then pray to them for help. But what happens? If one cries out to it, it doesn't answer or save anyone from trouble. In other words, God's saying an idol is totally powerless to help you. But our God is different. Remember what happened long ago. Remember that I'm God and there is no other God. I'm God and there's no one like me. From the beginning, I told you what would happen in the end. A long time ago, I told you things that have not yet happened. When I plan something, it happens. What I want to do, I will do. God is a God who listens to the cries of his people. And God is a God who speaks. He speaks, he foretells the future, he speaks, and the world has changed. And when he speaks, we're told in Isaiah 55, his word does not return to him empty. And here's the irony. In our passage, God is coming to deliver them. And guess what? The people don't want to know about it. God has said, I'm going to deliver you. No, not interested. They've settled down to life in Babylon. They don't want things to change. They're happy where they are. Don't rock the boat. Leave things be. I'm happy. Ouch. Sounds familiar. God is bringing a change to their life, and they don't want to have anything to do with it. They would rather stay in Babylon as prisoners and exiles than to follow God to salvation. And so, as I see that, I had to say to myself, does that describe how I feel? I don't want to change. And let's face it, as you get older, and those who are older, you know what I'm saying. We don't like change. We like things to stay the way they are. And when it happens, it rocks our little boat. It throws us out of sync. Because why? We have to adapt. We have to change. We have to do something different. And I dare say if we go through our rituals every day, and I ask you what you did, every day would look pretty much the same. And it's only when something out of the ordinary comes along and goes, woof, what did this happen for? I wasn't expecting that. It's rocked my world. God, why did you let it happen? Everything was going so well. God says, I want your attention. I want to change you. Hey, hang on a minute, God. I'm happy with the status quo right now. Leave me alone. Can't you see I'm happy? I'm digging it. I'm with it. God says, well, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to change it anyway. Oh, you can't do that. I won't know what to do. I won't be in control. What am I going to do? This is a scenario. They would rather stay prisoners and be exiled in a foreign country than have God take them and deliver them. And he's told them, this is what I'm going to do. No, I don't want that. And sometimes we say, yes, I know you, God. I know what you want. But you know what? I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. Because we don't want to change from the way that things are happening. Well, that's not knowing God. It's manipulating God. And we allow, if you like, our worldview, the things that have been in our minds that we've grown up with, we've absorbed and assimilated, just like the Israelites assimilated Babylon and its culture. It was new, it was different, it was anti-God. They had to put their filters on. And unfortunately, they didn't catch everything that went through. They allowed the culture of the Babylonians to formulate and form their opinions concerning who the God of the Bible is. And I think that's what we do through the lens of our culture and our worldview. We allow the world we allow some of its filter to come into our thinking about who the God of the Bible is. And yet, God has said, I am God and there is no other. Remember, I'm God, there's no other. I'm God, there's no one like me. Is this the God you know, or is it just a God you have heard about but pay no attention to? An introduction, as this is just an introduction. Who is your God today? What is he like? And if you know your God, show me what he's like. As I said, if I was doing a theology course, my students probably would be by now. I hope I haven't put you to sleep, but it's a challenge. Who is my God today? What is he really like? Is it just something I know, facts about him? Or can I say, I really know him and understand who he is and what he does for me? Am I going through the motions in my relationship with him? I hope to challenge us, reconnect with the God of the Bible so that he is your God. He's more than just facts. He's more than just information. He's real. As the team comes.